Hello pilots, this is Warbird-Fan66 and welcome to my channel. The topic of today's video is Durafly or Hobby King's latest warbird, the Messerschmitt Bf-109E, or Emil as we say in German. It is without a doubt one of the most iconic warplanes of World War II and a personal favorite of mine. And as a true warbird fan I was of course totally psyched when Stuart from Hobby King announced its release in December 2016. And now, a good year later, this plane finally made its way into my hangar. Pictures and videos I saw on the net about this plane looked totally great, so I was pretty happy when that finally was available in the warehouse. Unfortunately, I always seem to get Hobby King's Monday model. The tailwheel assembly was broken and could not be adjusted to the rudder. After contacting Hobby King's customer service, who actually ordered a new tailwheel assembly for me, I started to check the plane for other defects, and of course there were plenty. It actually reminded me of the last Messerschmitt I bought from Durafly, the Bf-110, which had so many faults that I almost threw that damn thing out of the window. Let's see what I found. Starting with the broken tailwheel assembly. And of course the elevator parts were glued together. Both of the set screws for the elevator and the rudder servo were missing. Not to forget, both flap servos were broken. One was twitching all the time and the other one couldn't hold its position. And of course, the landing gears. Well, I actually don't know what to say about the landing gears. There were so many things wrong with them. At first I only thought that the screws were not tightened, but then I found out that some of them were actually overturned, which made things kind of interesting to say the least. Oh, and did I mention the paint job? I actually like the new Durafly paint. It looks awesome and the color scheme is really nice. And I would even like it more, I guess, if the paint would actually stick on the model. Oh yes, and of course there is that thing with all the dings and dangs and the fuselage and the wing that some guy at the Durafly factory tried to overpaint in a totally amateur-like fashion. And just one last thing before we close this little list. You remember the broken tailwheel assembly I mentioned earlier? I ordered this plane on January 27th and now we have May the 29th. And I'm still waiting for my replacement. After finishing all the repairs, I started with the actual testing of this plane. I'm using the recommended 2200 mAh 4S LiPo for this test. With a few pieces of extra foam that kept the battery from wobbling around inside the plane, I got a CG of 62 millimeters, which is more or less exactly what the manual said. The good news, at least for all the guys of you who have to fly on a grass field, is that this plane has little to none nose-over tendencies, even on a bumpy field. And before you start wondering, of course I'm taxiing with fully pulled elevator. Everything looked fine, so it was time for the Maiden. I only had to replace the battery against a fresh one, just to be on the safe side. Wind speed and wind direction were not ideal for a Maiden flight, but still manageable in my opinion. And don't expect too much crazy stuff from the Maiden flight. I usually just cruise around a little and try to get a feel for the plane before I bring her down. Hopefully in one piece.
Ja, versuchen wir mal.
I was actually surprised how easily she responded to the control inputs, even at slow speeds. So I brought up the gear and started to enjoy the way she maneuvered in the air. CG was spot on. A few clicks aileron and 1 or 2 clicks elevator was all she needed. After 1 or 2 rounds I switched down to low rates, because with the high rates the plane acted a little bit too aggressive for my taste. And speaking of aggressive, this plane has plenty of power, even if it's not shown in this video right now. I really like the engine prop combi on this plane, because it's not only powerful, it's also pretty quiet. Not to forget, it gives the plane a nice scale appearance. And talking about scale appearance, I have to bring up the camo scheme of this plane again. This plane comes in an original Battle of Britain camo scheme, which looks awesome, but actually is a little bit difficult to see in the air. Don't get me wrong, you can see the yellow nose of that thing pretty good, but the rest of the plane against the blue sky, it kind of blends in. But hey, a little bit additional paintwork was planned anyway.
Ich steige mal und dann probiere ich mir die Räder aus. Die Räder aus.
After a few more rounds I started to climb to test the landing gear. And with the landing gear extended, the plane felt a little bit wobbly in the air. Nothing too serious, but you could definitely feel the difference. The following flap test was more or less uneventful. Of course they were not dialed in yet. Shortly after that my timer went off, which I had set to 5 minutes, just to be on the safe side. Time to land.
Dass der Schwerpunkt anders ist. Zieht deutlich nach unten. Mit den Rädern.
The first approach felt a little bit wrong, too high, so I decided to go around for another try. Better. Still, certainly not my best landing, but please keep in mind this was a maiden flight. At least she was down in one piece and still working. So what can I say about this 109E, the Emil from Durafly, after my maiden flight? Certainly a good looking plane, with a fair amount of scale appearance, no doubt about that. Very good ground handling, even on grass. Good handling in the air too. And you get the full package. A powerful drive system, landing gear, flaps, even positioning lights. Unfortunately, in case of Durafly, the full package sometimes also seems to mean bad to none quality control and customer service that is practically non-existent. You might be surprised, but for me personally, this plane still works. Mostly because it's an Emil, and she's the only one on the market right now. And well, she flies good, no doubt about that. Still, I'm not sure if every RC pilot can deal with problems like that and would be happy with a model in the end. So there's definitely room for improvement on Hobby King's or Durafly's side. So this was it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, if you have questions about the plane, please leave a comment below. Have fun at the flying field, guys. Warbird Fan 66 out.